Welcome back to Beer Brackets, everybody. We are starting our journey, Alessando, and crowning the Beer Brackets ultimate beer. We are taking the 4 beers in our perfect beer roundtable and we're pitting them together in a battle to determine the ultimate beer. And they're creating some very, very interesting matchups, Alessandro. The first one, which we're doing today, and man, we've been talking about this behind the scenes for a little while now. We are so excited about this one. This is 2 of our favorite beers ever that we are pitting against each other one-on-one. The Guinness Draught versus the ABT12 by St.Bernardus. Ireland versus Belgium, if you will. They're obviously not the same style. One is a Belgian quad, one a nitrogen-infused stout. Which one's gonna come on top, man? I have no idea.
It's gonna be exciting, and like you said, they're so different styles and so unique in different ways. Like I don't think I've ever before now had them back to back next to each other. So I'm excited, man.
Never had them back to back, so comparing these, I have no idea which way this is going to go. Guys, we're going to do a really quick run through. If you've seen our other versus videos, we're going to talk about the aroma, we're going to talk about the taste, the mouthfeel, the finish, the overall, and we're going to determine a winner. The winner of this bracket is going to move on to face the winner of the Weihenstephaner Weissbier versus the Duchess of Burgundy to determine the ultimate beer. And as you've seen already, we have the 5th perfect beer, the Erdinger Dunkel, who's going to be the first challenger to whoever the first ultimate beer crown holder is. My friend, I think we don't need to introduce these beers anymore. We already have on this channel to such an extent. I think we need to get right into it. Shall we crack them open?
Let's do it, my friend. Let's do it.
We both got our official St.Bernardus Watu Belgian glasses. Oh man, it's always a good day when you get to have an ABT12.
Isn't it?
By the way, guys.
Isn't it?
We are filming this on ABT12 Day, exactly 1 year after we filmed our very first review of ABT12, our very first review ever, but of ABT12 on ABT12 Day last year.
And what a journey it has been.
Look at that.
It's such an amazing experience to have it exactly 1 year after.
Exactly 1 year later, my friend.
Look at that.
The ABT12 poured out and ready to go. My friend, let's get these Guinnesses out. So I was watching a video the other day of the perfect way to pour out Guinness out of a can into a regular, unofficial Guinness pint glass. And so what they were saying to do, I love that sound of opening a Guinness, is to pour it straight out, right? So you turn the can completely upside down, let it pour out up to the harp, then you let it sit for about 10-20 seconds, and then you pour out the rest. So I'm gonna see completely upside down. Up to the harp. I'm gonna let it sit for a little bit and I'll finish that off a little later. My friend, let's get started. The aroma's up first. What do you think?
So let's do this. This is exciting. I mean,
oh man, already the aromas are so strong out of each.
Oh yeah.
It's so delicious.
So delicious and so different. Like, I mean, how do you pick?
How do you pick?
So
it's a tough job that we have over here at Beer Brackets. So beautiful.
Notes.
So beautiful.
And ABT12 goes like with those more prunes, figs, a little bit of that banana character, still that dark roasted malt, a little bit more pungent, I would say. I mean, Guinness has that beautiful roasted dark. I mean, it's a tough one. I mean, they all both have like a special place in my heart. Like, but I think if I had to pick, like just strictly based on what I'm smelling right now, I'm probably gonna go with the Guinness. I don't know, like it has a little bit more of a round and more inviting in this moment. And what do you think, my friend? 1
point for the Guinness so far. Let's see. You know, one thing to note about these 2 beers, I can smell them both sitting just, 15, 20 inches away from them. Oh, you know exactly what you described. The ABT12 has a little bit more, it has that dark roasted malt character to it. Of course, there's a little bit of fruitiness in there as well. You get the dark raisins, the dark prunes, the banana, like you mentioned, even like some passion fruit if you want to go that far into it. You could even find a little bit of mango, maybe even a little bit of citrus if you were to go that far with it. The Guinness is so much more blunt, like a hammer, just straight down. It's really just dark, roasted, that barley, right? Like that's what you get off of it. a little bit of coffee, maybe slight hints of chocolate, but it's so straightforward and strong in what it does. Guys, this is all subjective, of course, and they both got 3-on-3 aromas in our reviews. I think I'm going to have to go with the Guinness, my friend. But now we get to the best part, man. We get to the best part.
Yes.
Cheers.
Cheers to you, my friend. Double cheers.
God, what a tough life. We got to taste these delicious beers. Double cheers. Wow. Yeah. All right, I'll let you start, my friend. What do you think?
Ooh. Oh, wow. So
yeah,
I think kind of following on what you were just mentioning about how Guinness, like in the aroma, comes across like very straightforward. Guinness has a very solid presence in all the aromas. They come through like very gently and uniformly. While the ABT12 for me has like a little bit more of a, I don't want to say spiky, but like there's some rough edges there that are obviously incredibly
around the edges.
But it's a little bit more like of a wild animal in a sense, right? Like
it's a wild wizard.
Exactly.
A wild monk roaming the hills of Watu, Belgium.
Exactly.
Yes.
So this is again a tough one because the Guinness is just so, for me, it just has this very comforting taste in my mind.
Yeah.
So every time I just take a sip, it just takes me right back there. And so does the ABT12 in a different way.
You're going Guinness?
But if I had to pick, I'm going to stick with the Guinness, my friend. I know it's a little leaning already, but as a one-off, like I'm going to go with Guinness. What do you think?
Another thing that's worth mentioning that we haven't brought up, the ABT12 has pretty much 2.5 times the amount of alcohol as Guinness Draught does.
It does.
2.5. So that is a significantly more percentage of alcohol in the ABT12 than in Guinness. And that does play a factor into the taste. The taste on Guinness is so smooth. It's so understated. It's so balanced. I think a lot of the beer gatekeepers, and the gatekeepers are going to play a much more important role in this upcoming year of beer brackets. Just wait and see. But the beer gatekeepers, I think, are very quick to sort of dismiss Guinness. Probably one, because it's a very mainstream beer, but two, because it's very subtle and muted in a lot of its characteristics, right? Like the taste being one of them. The aroma is much stronger than the actual taste on Guinness. Whereas you have something like the ABT12, which you said is much more prickly. It's much more angled. It's much sharper. Put it that way. It's
great word.
Yeah, it's a little bit more aggressive, right, in its taste, and by all means, because of 2.5 times the amount of alcohol, I think what you get on the aromas is what you get on the taste with both these beers. So there's no need to sort of repeat all the descriptors. It's very straightforward. The ABT12, it's very strong with that dark roasted malt. You do get the fruitiness that you get off a standard Belgian quad. With the Guinness, you get the same taste that you get off the Aroma, just dark roasted barley, and then just coffee, hints of that, maybe a little bit of chocolate, just like deliciousness. Because the Guinness is a little bit more muted, it's a little bit more subtle, I think on the taste, and on this very day, I am deciding I think I'm going to go with the ABT12, my friend, with a slight advantage, just because the taste is much more defined, and it's, considering it's 10.2% ABV, 10 on the dot, it is extremely balanced, which is why I got a 3-on-3. But another 1 point for ABT12.
There you go.
But now this is an interesting one, mouthfeel.
So mouthfeel, like here we're approaching a very difficult territory, because
very difficult.
How different those two are and how unique in the same way. I don't think you can possibly think of two beers that have so incredibly unique mouthfeels. For the Guinness, obviously iconic, being that nitro infusion gives it this incredible creamy mouthfeel. But the ABT12 on the other side, being bottled, fermented and conditioned, has all those tiny little bubbles that are just exploding on your palate, like, almost like champagne, right? Like it has this incredible light mouthfeel, considering, like you said, the 10%. It's a tough one. I think, like, for this, like, I have to go and really think about what just resonates with me, like, as in the moment or based on past experience. And I think that, like, again, here I'm gonna lean to Guinness, because Guinness has like this, for me, it's just like insanely I don't know, iconic.
You're going Guinness across the board.
What do you think, my friend?
It's so tough because, like you said, these two beers have just the most unique mouthfeels, and like they obviously they're perfect beers. They both got 3 on 3 mouthfeels on our reviews. I think the Guinness mouthfeel is very underrated. Everybody thinks about the creaminess on the Guinness mouthfeel, but there's more to it than that. Below the creaminess, there's a very subtle, slight explosions of millions of little bubbles in your mouth as you take a sip. And there's just the slightest amount of carbonation that plays with the roasted element that emphasizes and raises the taste, and eventually what we'll talk about, the finish, to another level. The ABT12, oh my God, talk about 1,000 little bubbles. The intense carbonation from the double bottle fermentation that you talked about is just unbelievable. And it helps just give it that refreshing sort of edge to it that balances out the 10% alcohol and the strong tastes that go with it. It's a tough one, my friend. It's a real tough one, but you know what? I think, how could you not go with Guinness? I mean, come on, Guinness is just, it's the mouthfeel, right? I mean, it's just so iconic for a reason. And it's even, I find it's unique as compared to other nitro-infused stouts as well.
Yes.
Because of what I just mentioned, that little just undertone of carbonation that plays with it so perfectly. So, finish, man. What do you think? This is, I have no idea where this is going to go.
I was trying to think about what to say here because it really, it's tough. It's a tough job that we have, man. Like these battling those two beers,
so
like they're like titans in the beer world, and we're just like, you know, having them fight against each other. It's intense, but
Titans.
So when I usually try and consider just the finish on its own, one of the things that I look into is like if there's something that is some elements that are surprising me. After, you know, I've taken a sip, like what do I taste? What's happening there, right? Like, so and I think that in this case, like the two beers are, again, like different, but incredibly good at what they do. And Guinness has like this incredible light,
Listen, I was doing some research,
you know, finish that like, it's very gentle. It sits there in the background, but it has a lot of complexity. While ABT12, while having that same very long finish, has a little bit more of elements coming up. Like I feel like with Guinness, like it's almost like it's bringing you back to your first sip. But with ABT12, I taste things that are not necessarily evident at first. Some spices, some fruit, like as you mentioned. So in for that, I think I'm gonna lean to the ABT12. So it's gonna get a point for the finish for me. What do you think?
I like what you said about Guinness. It brings you back to your first sip. And I think we've talked about this before, talking about Guinness. I think there's a big sort of sentimental aspect to Guinness between you and I.
Yes.
Personally, this is all obviously subjective, but with you and I, we have such a sentimental connection to Guinness. We met over a pint of Guinness in Ireland. So, I mean, come on, it's one of our favorite beers. We've had so many great experiences with it, and it's so versatile. I mean, just having a pint of Guinness in Dublin as compared to having a pint of Guinness in North America and appreciating those differences. It's such an adventure in beer tasting. And so we have such a love for it for those reasons. You know what, man? I compare these two to like getting a massage, and you know, all massages are great. And I think the Guinness is more like a very relaxing, slow, gentle massage. And the ABT12 is kind of like a deep tissue massage, like a physio massage, almost like where they're targeting a sore muscle and just ironing it out and getting in there and just like getting that muscle, you know, and then after it's like the end result is the same. You feel like you're floating on a cloud after each one, but the deep tissue is a little bit more intense getting there.
Yes.
In this case, on this very day, obviously they're both 3 on 3s. I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to go with ABT12 as well on the finish, my friend. And this is cutting it close. I think Guinness is still slightly in the lead here, but now we're cutting it close. And the reason why I'm choosing ABT12 is just because I find it's just a little bit more robust. It's a little bit more interesting. As much as I love the finish on Guinness and everything that brings, I think you can't deny ABT12 on ABT12 day. So now, my friend, an overall experience. And you know what? I think ABT12 would probably have to get both points here in order to be in the running. But which one do you pick as an overall beer experience?
So I kind of know where I'm leaning here, and you've touched a little bit on this. I think, you know, the overall is where the intangible is coming into play. For me, you know, there's parts of the beer experience in general that are, you know, not necessarily connected to the aroma, the taste, the mouthfeel, but the people you've enjoyed it with before and the experiences you've had before that elevate that potential beer, whatever that might be, to a different level. And that's kind of like what it is here for me. Like, and that's why I'm picking Guinness, because like you said, like I associate it with so many memories and great moments. And they're both like amazing beers, so like it feels a little bit wrong not going like with the ABT12, especially on the ABT12 day.
We're sorry, Wizards. We're sorry. I'm gonna go with Guinness as well, my friend. And I think after everything that we've said, obviously we have a sentimental attachment to it, but I think from beginning to end, Guinness is just slightly a hair more of a smooth beer experience. From the aroma all the way to the finish, I think it's just slightly more polished. And that's saying a lot because the ABT12 is legendary beer. But it's legendary. But it's a slightly more polished beer experience. And my friend, we have the first beer advancing in the Ultimate Beer Roundtable bracket to face the winner of the Weihenstephaner Weissbier versus the Duchess of Burgundy. We have a winner! That was so much fun, but man, I gotta ask you something, and I can't believe this didn't come up before, and this is very, very important. I need you to look at your bottle of ABT12 and let me know, is the monk winking?
He is not on this one. How about you?
He's not winking. We weren't one of the 1,000 on ABT12 Day. I was hoping that maybe at least the beer wizards were shining on us and would give us a winking monk. But alas, they did not. Everyone, thank you so much for joining us. Keep an eye open for the next versus battle. Again, that's going to be the Weihenstephaner Weissbier against the Duchess of Burgundy. I have no idea how that's going to turn out. The winner is going to face Guinness Draught to crown the first beer bracket's ultimate beer. Everybody, let us know down below, which one would you prefer? If you've tried both of these beers, which one would you rate higher and why? We're dying to know because this wasn't easy for us and we couldn't wait to do it. So we are beyond curious to know what you guys think. Please let us know down below. Stay tuned for future versus battles. And don't forget to close your versus beer brackets. Open with an ABT12, maybe close with a Guinness.
Never
Cheers,
forget.
everybody.
Never forget.